My name's Scott Chacon. I'm the CEO of GitButler. I also happen to be a certified wine expert. Now today on Bits and Booze, we're going to be talking about MCP.
Más caliente,
you
por
know
favor.
me. Welcome to another episode of Bits and Booze. My name is Scott Chacon. I have with me Esteban once again. Today on Bits and Booze, we are going to be going over on the Bits part MCP. We'll be learning all about it. We'll be implementing our own stuff. We'll be testing out some things. We'll be talking about it. Now, on the booze part, a Chianti Classico. Now, what do you know about Chianti?
It sounds Italian.
Well, the thing you need to know about Chianti is that it goes great with some fava beans. Did you know where Chianti is?
No, it's a city. Interesting.
It is not a city. Okay. It's a region. And it's in between Florence and Siena. But there's this fun thing, I don't know actually if you can see this on camera, this little Gallo Nero.
Gallo Negro for sure.
Negro.
Italian, sounds like Italian as well.
Black Black rooster. Is a better way of translating that. The story of the rooster was Florence and Siena were trying to figure out who sort of controls the Chianti region. The only fair way to do it is to have two knights ride out, one from Siena and one from Florence. And so they say, we'll start when the rooster crows. And so Florence, because they wanted to cheat, I guess, put their rooster in a sort of a blackened box with no food so that it would crow earlier. And so it crowed earlier and their night went farther. And so it kind of controlled more of this region. But anyways, that's why they put this sort of black rooster. But you only see this on the Chianti Classico ones for this particular batch. But I think that's kind of a fun story. But anyways, so this is Chianti Classico, Sangiovese, nice Tuscan classic Sangiovese wine. Cheers. Let me know what you think about that.
I like it.
I think it'd go great with liver and fava beans.
It would.
Give me a quick overview. What is MCP?
So basically it's a protocol. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. And basically it just is a set of rules that allows people to create bridges that connect LLM applications with any other kind of data, right? So for example, you will have your new AI IDs like Cursor and recently VS Code. And if you want to have them be able to reach data from GitHub, for example, you would be able to write an MCP server that basically just exposes tools that the LLM agent inside of the application can call in order to get more context. That's where the context part comes.
So I've used this to a degree with OpenAI functions, which I think is very similar.
It's based on the same principle, exactly. It's just a way of exposing the tools that you can pass into the agent, like in.
And so the idea, from my understanding, the idea with functions is you would say something that, because LLMs aren't good at various things, right? It's not good at accessing sort of APIs or real-time information. Like it's trained on some huge data set. And so it's good at that. But like things it's very specifically not good at is math, right? Like it's not good at adding two numbers it's never seen in a blog or something, right? Or like statistically wouldn't really know. It's like it'll guess and it'll sort of hallucinate. But what you can do is say, if you need to add two numbers, here's a function, call that and then get it back, right? And so it's like, okay, I get to the point where I know I need to add numbers, so I'll call that thing, I'll get the data back, and then I'll do something with that data. And so this is similar, except you can say, here's a command to run locally and all the things I can do, or here's a URL that you can run and just hit it and give me a list of my customers or a list of my contacts or something that's very specific to me.
Exactly right. And MCP, like how it fits in this picture is just basically, it allows for separation of concern. So now Cursor doesn't have to implement their own version of tool calling for GitHub, but the user that is using Cursor can just download and set up the MCP server of their choice.
So if you want to open a pull request or whatever, you can say, here's a call. You just call that, it'll do the thing and give you back the data. You don't have to deal with the specifics of the API.
Exactly right.
If you're using GitLab or whatever, I'll just set up that instead, and then you'll know, okay, if I want to open a merge request, this is the way to run it, and I do that, and I don't have to deal with the specifics, and you'll tell me, like the response will be, here's some data so you can tell the person I did this thing.
Exactly, exactly right.
So, let's go ahead and do that. what I'd love to start with is an out-of-the-box thing, which is, I think we decided we'd do a GitHub MCP server.
Sure, yep.
So I'd love to set up a GitHub MCP server and say, tell me about me, or add an issue or add a comment to an issue, or something very generic.
Exactly. So in this case, I've already set up my MCP server in VS Code. If you go to the GitHub repository for MCP, GitHub MCP server, I think it's this one. So this is the repository in GitHub. And down here, you will see the README, and they have installed or set up these two little nice convenient buttons that basically just allows you to install the MCP server, right?
Right. I would actually love to see what that actually looks like, because I don't know how they implemented this, of tell VS Code to insert some random JSON into my settings JSON file.
Actually, I was trying to look at it recently. we can dive in.
Yes, let's look at it. Deep dive.
What it seems they're doing is that they're basically encoding this URL that in itself encodes, is this one, sorry, the JSON description of it.
Oh boy, inputs equals, okay.
So it's just URI encoded JSON object,
Interesting,
right?
I didn't know you could do that. We've all learned something today already. All right, so install it.
Let's see if I can go and install it. It will ask me permission for opening Visual Studio Code, and immediately prompts me with this, right?
Right.
This is basically the thing that you will have to add to your settings, and it's just the description of the MPC server.
So I did this earlier.
Yep.
And I'll tell you a thing that I struggled for 20 minutes on, which is do not replace GitHub Personal Access Token with your GitHub Personal Access Token.
Oh.
You need to keep this top one.
Yeah.
I thought I put in my
this one.
Yeah. Because you're saying set the environment, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Based on my environment, but I replaced both of them with my access token,
right? Yeah.
Which you can't do. Leave the first one alone.
Correct.
Just put your access token in this M thing.
Exactly.
All right, so let's do that.
Exactly. I've already done it. Since I don't want to share with the internet my personal access token, we can hide it. But
Don't worry,
basically,
we have it.
Maybe we can just add a little bit more of a description here, because there are different kinds of MCP servers as well. This one happens to be a Docker container, right? There will be some other ones that are NPM packages.
So it's a really weird, I feel like this is a really weird way of doing this, right? Because there's two kind of standard ways of running an MCP server. One is as essentially an HTTP server that you do sort of post calls to or whatever, to say, here's a thing, give me some data back. The other is as a standard IO thing that you say, okay, run this process, and then I'll throw standard IO to it, and it gives me standard out, whatever the response is. And so it can be some binary. This is run a Docker instance, throw my standard IO into the Docker instance, and then have that come back, right? Which is a very, very weird way of doing it. But you do need to have Docker running and some Docker host or whatever that can run that.
Exactly. So not every MCP server will have this.
Right.
Like you just previously mentioned, there's just different flavors, right? Whether it's something that is running in the cloud and is using HTTP, or if it's an NPM package, you can just run it with NPX. So you don't even have to install anything, right? It's just the cache that will be downloaded. You can even run it with pip if it's a Python package. There's so many different things.
Right. Okay, so let's run that. It's installed. It's ready to go. When you install this, it says, hey, I have 36 instructions or something that I can do, right?
The tools, correct.
And so that's really interesting, is when you do, and we'll implement one in a minute, but you say, here's all the stuff I can do. Right? And kind of what the command is to call.
Correct.
And so in VS Code, if you want to see what they are, you have this little sort of tool icon with 56, and it's like, here's the 56 things that I know I can do with the MCP servers that I have.
Correct.
Right? And so essentially, when you're typing commands, it's like, is one of these 56 things the best way of doing this, or do I just kind of go through my memory and figure out through the model and figure out how to do this? So if you click on that, you have your Git Butler MCP server, which maybe we'll get to, maybe we won't get to at some point. Well, Git Butler wants to do an MCP server so we can handle some of this, but here's the GitHub stuff, right? So here's it can add an issue comment, it can create a branch, it can create an issue, blah, 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 right? So this is all the things now logged in as you with your token that you can do. So let's do some of these things. Actually, let's do the easiest thing. One of them is get me, I think, which it'll ask, it'll ask about you.
Right.
So I want to see what GitHub Copilot thinks about you.
Let's try it out.
Son of a bitch.
That's just great. It kind of, it's a bit fizzy at the moment, but
I mean, this is the thing. It's not deterministic, right? Like the agent has to say, I think this is the best way. Oh boy, why is that not working? Cut all this.
Yeah, VS Code is not super good at this still. Tell me about the user Steve minus Vega. Maybe that works.
Oh, I mean, kind of.
Kind of.
All right, continue. Got to run it.
So yeah, basically here it's proposing to call the actual tool, and the very first time that you call a new tool, it will actually ask for permissions. Yeah.
Okay, well, never mind. Ask about yourself.
Yeah.
It's fine. I always allow, okay.
Yeah, you're able to
YOLO mode.
It's the YOLO mode of VS Code, exactly. And basically it doesn't tell me that much.
Exists. You exist.
I exist.
Congratulations.
I've been acknowledged and I've been seen. So yeah, it will not get too much more than that. But maybe we can look at the issues for the Git Butler.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's take a look at the issues for the repo Git Butler app / Git Butler. There we go.
Okay, so it figures out of all these things I can run, your prompt seems to be, this is going to be the best way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. I'll offload it and then get any data that comes back.
Correct.
And then interpret that. Right?
Exactly right.
All right, so let's do that.
Always allow.
You have to always allow on every single...
The first time. One, again, if it calls that same tool again, it will not ask for.
But that specific tool, not anything in the MCP server.
Correct,
okay.
yeah.
All right, so we get, here's a bunch of open issues.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. So now we have an idea, right?
Yeah.
Like what you want to do is say, if there's something a tool I can give to my agent to kind of do something for me.
Right.
Then I can give that to it, and then it has access to whatever my script or my program or whatever can do.
Correct.
So let's write our own. So what do we want to do here?
I have already set up a little bit of a repository.
Okay, what's it do?
It does nothing.
All right.
So I've only installed a couple of dependencies. I also have some ESLint and tsconfig just because I would kill myself if I have to do it without them.
Actually, just real quick, in case I'm watching this and I'm like, I want to create an MCP tool.
Right. Yeah.
How did you create this?
So I've gone and seen the documentation at the modelcontextprotocol.io website. They have amazing documentation there, and basically I've just chosen the path of writing an MCP server using the TypeScript SDK. Okay. And for that, I just need to install a couple of dependencies, the main one being the Model Context Protocol SDK. I've also added a couple of other nice things for fetching, OpenAI, because maybe we play around with that. I don't know.
And I have seen this too if you're doing the TypeScript thing, Zod, which is like a type system.
Exactly. It's a schema validation library.
Okay. So we'll see this. We'll see this when we're going
We'll get there.
I'm sure.
We'll get there.
It's like Z dot something, and you're like, where the fuck does the Z come from?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what does it do? What does our initial sort of MCP server do here?
Right now, it does literally nothing. Like basically, it's just scaffold. But the important things in the package.json to note is that here I have a build script that basically compiles down whatever MCP ends up being into JavaScript and makes it executable. Also, I have this inspect script, which basically runs the inspector. Is like the new standard for testing MCPs while you are developing. We might get to it, we might not. It's well documented.
Sure.
But yeah, and the index.
Okay, so it does nothing.
It does.
You just have a
nothing.
server that has no capabilities whatsoever.
And let's try to see what we want to.
Me in high school.
Is that who you were in high school?
I had no capabilities whatsoever. All right. Oh,
All right.
Look,
so
like
already,
AI is already trying to give you a tool.
Exactly. It's already trying to register something. I'm not even sure if this is the right notation.
Let's start with this.
Yeah.
We'll just see if we can implement it.
Okay.
Right. So we'll keep it a short episode.
Yeah, that's it.
So one of the things when I'm using agents for stuff is at the end of the session, like I'm creating code or whatever, and I want it to create a commit.
Yeah.
Every time it produces code, create a commit. Right. So let's make a tool that says just commit this. Yeah. You did this all kind of auto completed here, but let's say server.tool git.commit or something instead of git alerts, right? Like we wanted to commit something.
Git dash commit or yeah.
Sure. I mean, actually, does it even matter? I feel like it doesn't really matter what you name the tool. Right?
As long as it's descriptive, I think it's fine.
Yeah. Like it needs to know I want to do this thing, and so this is like in my sort of toolbox that I can do, and so maybe I'll just try to call this.
Correct.
And then the next thing is, what does it do? So this is important because this kind of tells the agent what it can do.
Right.
So I feel like the more descriptive you are here of what it actually accomplishes, then it's helpful.
Okay.
So just say commit all the work that has been happening in the agent chat prompt or something. I don't know.
Boom.
Yeah, sure.
State, we don't care about the state really. Right?
What is length 2?
It's actually
two-letter code. Okay, I didn't know you could do that. Okay.
Yeah, it is actually pretty neat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say prompt. We wanted to give us the prompt that we used, right? So it can use that as a commit message. Sure.
Let me be a bit more.
Prompt used to generate the code.
Generate the code. Okay.
Okay. So now theoretically, the agent would say, okay, I have this thing I can call called git commit.
Right.
I give it the prompt that was used to generate the code I just created, and it will commit it for me.
Yeah. Beautifully spelled, of course. Yeah.
And now here we can run like exec sync, git commit, right?
Yeah.
Something stupid. Git add, git commit. Sure.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we probably want to use the prompt in the commit message, but we'd probably have to clean it somehow or write it into a file and use git commit-f. But let's start with this and see if it works.
Should we interpolate it or okay?
No, let's start with this, see if it works, and get rid of the other tool. Yeah. Now let's add this. How do we add this as a tool that we can use?
Should be listed. It still is complaining. Let's see why this is complaining. String is not sustainable to parameter that is raw shape. What? Let's see. We need to return the content. I think that's exactly what is happening here. So since we are just executing something, we're returning nothing.
Yeah, that makes sense. We have to tell it what we've done.
Exactly. So content.
Yeah.
I think is or is it an array?
Type text.
I think it's first an array. Then this type text. Boom. Now it's not complaining. We're not using the prompt, but that is fine for now.
That's fine.
This already should have it listed as a tools.
Yep.
Now it's time to hook it up to the actual IDE.
Right. So how do we do that? We have to. So there's different ways to do this depending on the editor you're using, right?
Correct.
So like I know Cursor actually has a pretty nice built-in thing that's like add your thing, and then it has like a listing.
Right.
VS Code has essentially
not
nothing.
Much.
It's like list the servers, and it just does it in the thing, and you're like, is this running? And it's like it's running.
Exactly.
Like there's no here's what the tools I have or anything.
Correct.
It's really bad.
Only when you open the chat section will you.
I love you, Microsoft, but
will you know that you're actually running anything? Jesus. But I think you actually just need to go into your settings and then go into MCP and. Yeah, like you said, you just need to go into the JSON.
Perfect.
Now that's way
so you go
more
to your
private.
settings.
Yeah.
MCP server. You just naming something random.
Yes, exactly. Like it's just the same name of the directory that we're working on.
Command args, great. You're running the thing.
Exactly.
Can you actually run this? Is there there's like a start. Yeah, hit the start.
Let's see if
that work?
I need to build it first, so it probably will not work. So
right.
if I start it, will it complain? Error. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
We expected this. Let me close this and then minimize this huge ass zoom. All right, if I go here and I try to build it, which should be npm build, round build. Yeah, exactly. So I basically just compiled what we wrote in TypeScript into JavaScript so that Node can just run it, right? We've listed our tool. This is the thing that it actually does and the return statement.
Right.
But crucially, something that is very important
Sure.
is actually to run the server that we want to host, right?
Right.
And so basically here I've just chosen one of the two different transport options that we have, which is standard IO.
Yep.
And here I'm just connecting it through that and letting it run. If anything fails, the error will be logged, and then we just return an exit.
Real quick, before we go into the inspector, because I'm going to show the inspector, I think it's interesting, is let's change weather MCP server to awesome Esteban Git MCP server.
Important. P server is running. Boom, and boom, and boom.
And actually, right next to MCP, can you put in brackets muy caliente protocol?
Por favor.
Okay, perfect. Por favor, server.
2 words. Boom. Yeah.
Okay. So
now we
have our muy caliente por favor server running.
Run build.
Run build. Now, you talked about the inspector. I want to look at the inspector for 1 second, because if somebody's writing an MCP server, this is actually, it took me a while to find this.
Yeah.
This is super, super, super helpful.
It's crucial. Like
it is so valuable to debug this stuff.
Exactly.
So let's look at, run it, and let's look at what this is
All right.
before we actually use this in the agent.